The hospital was at a loss for what to do, but one woman was eager to assist. A child has the power to completely change your life. Chelsea Zeleny Flora is someone who's aware of all this, and she's telling us about her experience. Nobody like him had ever been seen at the hospital. Parents adopt a special needs child after being told he would not walk and may have fetal alcohol syndrome. He needed a home and he needed it right away, according to his mother. As a foster parent, I believe it's impossible to fully comprehend the duties that come with the job. It's our expectation that we would have only one perfect child. We already had 2 biological children, a girl and an autistic son. So when we welcomed our beautiful baby daughter into our family in 2016, we had no idea that our hearts would soon be ready to open again. This time to a child with primary medical needs whom we'd heard about on social media. A steady stream of messages on our local Facebook page asks if anyone has a spare bed for this child or if anyone has room for a sibling pair. Normally, I would have ignored such messages, but this one couldn't be ignored. According to the post, the child has been in the hospital for 2.5 months, has been unable to find placement, lacks femur bones, and is medically frail. As stated by the hospital, he only has a few more days until they're forced to discharge him owing to a lack of available room. In any case, I commented to learn more, but after learning the extent of his medical needs, we decided it was simply too much for us to bear. He was confident that, in addition to the 3 other children already in our care, someone else would step forward because they had to. The next day, another post appeared in my account, followed by another the next day, all from different people saying the same thing. This baby needs a home right now, and there aren't any available. It was a never-ending cycle, so I decided to call and make things official. What's the current prognosis? What's the point of all this? Is it possible for me to do so? Nothing good come from what he said on paper, and the hospital had never seen anyone quite like him before. They claimed he couldn't walk and that he might even have fetal alcohol syndrome. But he needed a place to call home right away. After contacting our agency, we discovered that it was possible to upgrade our license to accept children with primary medical needs with a small amount of additional yearly training. Then his CPS nurse contacted me again. He had expected her to try to persuade us into adopting this child, regardless of whether it was the best choice for our family or not. He talked to him for what felt like an eternity. She appreciated him answering all of her questions and providing him with information. She inspired him with her personal story of adopting 3 children, the progress made by children with physical disabilities, and the incredible medical technology that's now available. She had persuaded her to say yes that day, but she had no plans for after that. This was due not only to what was required, but also to the fact that she took the time to make us feel at ease and capable of providing what he required. Their final decision has been made. The question now was, how would their friends and family react? They'd just adopted our 10-month-old child and said goodbye to a long-term foster placement, both of which had occurred within the previous month. When they first considered becoming foster parents, they told everyone that all they wanted to do was step down from the role and resume their normal lives. They were ready to abandon the visits, paperwork, rules, and uncertainties. Nevertheless, this tiny baby boy taught us that we couldn't give up just yet. On a Tuesday, he entered the new house through the front door. Despite the fact that her heart was racing, he was quite small because he was born at 32 weeks, and he lacked both of his femur bones and both of his hip bones. He had a deformed head from lying in a hospital bed 2.5 months, and he had twin amniotic bands around both feet, which added to his sense of insecurity. Everything frightened her. Was it correct that she had him in her arms? Did he seem to be in any pain? Is it really possible for me to accomplish this? After informing them that his family was in the process of completing a home study and would be ready to adopt him soon, the caseworker left. Their hearts were immediately guarded, and they breathed a small sigh of relief. Of course, they were curious about his thighs and calves. They had a few questions for him, but they were mostly taken with him. Each of them took turns embracing him, pleading with him to stay forever and arguing over which room he would sleep in that evening. Their 5- and 7-year-old children didn't notice any physical disability. Instead, they caught a glimpse of their brother, albeit for a brief moment. They discovered over the months that he was the most difficult baby they'd ever had. He couldn't stop sobbing, He was constantly ill, couldn't sleep, had appointments all the time, and had few resources. Each doctor gave the patient with bilateral PFFD a different prognosis. Another offered surgery in addition to his prosthetics, and a third claimed to have treated a comparable patient who was a high school football player. Of course, in his own way, it didn't matter how perplexing it all seemed at the time. They all fell in love with this boy while waited for medical appointments, therapies, and caseworker visits. Despite their doubts about their ability to care for him, their commitment grew stronger and their hearts were open. He wasn't just a patient in need of a place to sleep, he was also a medical needs placement. He was their child, and they made the decision to give him everything they had, physically, mentally, and financially, for as long as he was with them. The kinship arrangement was a mess no matter how long it lasted. During their monthly visit, the caseworker asked if she or her husband were interested in the idea of adopting him. The answer was a resounding yes. Despite the fact that they were facing the unfamiliar and the reality that this would not be an easy road to walk down, they were willing to embark on a journey that would last a lifetime. They'd reached milestones that he wasn't supposed to have reached alongside their son. He was crawling in his own unique way after a year in our care, and fetal alcohol syndrome has finally been ruled out as the cause of his birth. They were able to witness this small, sick infant's transformation into a healthy, joyful toddler. The boy talked, laughed, had tantrums, and participated in everything. And after his adoption, he actually started crawling in a completely different way, standing on his feet and balancing with his hands. Then he started standing up on his own, without help. He was determined to follow in the footsteps of his peers. He learned to ride a scooter, walk with a walker, climb stairs, and generally adjust to a world that wasn't designed for him. Charlie stood up and took 6 steps without the assistance of his walker after his 2nd birthday. That's 6 steps with less than half of his legs available. That's 6 steps above and beyond what he should have done. Those 6 steps were the first of many, and any concern we had about his future vanished almost instantly. He showed us the power of love, devotion, and the desire to make a difference in a child's life. We've also learned that we should never define someone based on their condition or put them in a box of things that they ostensibly should be able to do. Charlie is still only 2 years old. He likes to swim, eat hot dogs with ketchup, play outside with his friends, and is slowly but steadily learning to walk with the help of his parents. I have faith that he'll understand the situation and will not simply walk away. His activities will include running, football or soccer, and whatever else he desires. There will be more obstacles to overcome in the future, but for now, he's my sweet, sensitive boy who walks on his hands, rides a scooter better than other kids his age, adores his mother, and will defy every single disadvantage thrown in his path. Thank you for your time, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories.